it right here. I'm sticking. Eating
Sounds
the whole
like
time.
a segment.
Oh, hold on. Just
Yes.
Bite.
Sounds like a segment. All right, let's get to some news here while we ponder. KV doing that. Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green is getting a second opinion today on his sprained ankle. This, according to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. Now, at the moment, he's not currently scheduled to undergo surgery on it. Green's return could be in the range of 7 to 8 weeks, and that is best case scenario here. Either way, Tom and our Ian Rappaport both report Green's availability for the season opener in Seattle is in doubt. Head coach Zach Taylor saying he'll have a better idea today of Green's status following more testing on his ankle, a right toe injury forcing Green to miss 7 games last season. And like Green, an injury is sidelining Titans running back Derrick Henry. It's the lower leg as described by head coach Mike Vrabel, although there's not a timetable for his return back to the field. Rap Sheet reporting the team isn't worried about it and the issue should not be a big deal. Safety Earl Thomas going from one dominant defense to another. After 9 seasons as a member of the Legion of Boom, Thomas joining Baltimore's top-ranked defense from last season. Thomas told our Aditi Kinkabwala and Brian Billick his role with the Ravens is more defined than what it was in Seattle.
This defense is more complex, but I feel like they brought me in here to make plays, make some interceptions, get the ball back in Lamar's hands. In Seattle, they never really, they knew what I was capable of, but they never told me, like, Earl, you need to go out there and get picks. But either way it goes, I'm happy. It's good to know my role, and I'm excited for it.
It's good to know my role, and he says the defense is more complex in Baltimore. Okay, guys, I do believe that is throwing shade to Seattle right there with his comments.
No. I disagree.
Okay.
Really?
Seattle,
Why?
we've known for a while. Seattle has a simplified scheme. They run a lot of cover 3, and they just ask their guys to make plays within that. So I don't think that was shade. There's other shade to be had.
Okay.
But I don't think that was
Nate.
shade. I love you, though, Will.
Thanks, Will.
I do.
I think people get shade confused with just honesty. When guys are honest, it's like, oh, he's being a little shady.
It comes up a lot.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Earl Thomas, if he wants to say something or show something to Seattle, he's not afraid to do that. So.
Oh, he showed it last year.
Yeah. You're right about
Training
that.
camp is underway. Let's go live now to Texans training camp in Houston, where we find our very own James Palmer, who will set the scene for us right now at Texans camp. What are we looking for? What's the vibe there heading into the start of the season?
Okay, the first thing that jumps out at me is there's a lot of birds around me on these fields, and it's freaking me out a little bit, but we'll get to the players now. The interesting part of this is that you have a healthy Deshaun Watson and a healthy J.J. Watt, opposite sides of the ball, but this is why this is helping camp move along early on. The Texans are trying to figure out what they do with their offensive line. After certain plays, J.J. Watt's going up to Deshaun Watson saying, hey, I'm seeing your eyes go in this direction, you're tipping this off. Your offensive line did this that tipped me off. When they weren't healthy going through these training camps and they were limited in some capacity coming off of injuries, that type of growth and communication and learning together wasn't happening. That's happening this year. And also Deshaun Watson's receiving core is healthy. DeAndre Hopkins back healthy, working with Andre Johnson here on the practice field, who's a special assistant to Bill O'Brien, but also a healthy Will Fuller, who everybody I've spoken with says looks great coming off of that ACL, and in the slot, Kiki Cutie. Those 3 receivers the Texans believe can be dynamic, but they've, because of injuries, spent so little time together. Now they're getting an opportunity for Deshaun Watson to throw the football to all 3 of them on the field at the same time, trying to build this offense. But the part that all of our eyes are on is how this offensive line is going to protect Deshaun Watson after he was sacked more than anybody else in football. They go with Titus Howard in the first round. They've been playing him more at left guard. He has been playing some left tackle, but they're trying to figure things out in front of him and trying to stop guys like J.J. Watt, trying to figure out how they're going to protect their star quarterback.
And I love that Jadeveon Clowney, the offensive line we'll get into in a little bit, him being sacked 62 times, also him maybe changing the game, getting the ball out of his hands a little bit sooner is something certainly that's going to help get them over the hump. But let's talk Clowney, the elephant in the room. He has yet to report to training camp as the Pro Bowl linebacker seeking a long-term contract extension. What is going on?
Yeah, this is an interesting situation, right? He's on the franchise tag. Obviously, they knew he was not going to be here. They want him here. Bill O'Brien has said unequivocally, we want him on this practice field with us, working with us, as important he is to this defense. But he stays away. It's kind of something now at a couple of days into camp. It's just assumed he's going to be away. So they're working without him. But the situation is interesting for a couple of points. One, they don't have a general manager. Right now, it's Bill O'Brien and company in that front office operating things, and it's a little bit of a different setup than other teams have when you're trying to figure things out with a star player. They also have to look into the injuries that Clowney's had in his past. He's never had a double-digit sack season. They also have Deshaun Watson's contract on the horizon as well, so that plays a part into it. So a lot of factors coming into what happens with Jadeveon Clowney, a guy who was picked before Khalil Mack, before Aaron Donald, and again, maybe hasn't lived up to everything they expect, but they still do believe that he is a very important, versatile part of this defense, rushing the passer alongside Whitney Mercilus and J.J. Watt.
And their defense, one of their strengths, of course, as are their offensive weapons. James Palmer with us on Inside Training Camp Live all day long. Say hi to those birds and DeAndre Hopkins from everybody here at the breakfast table. So the way I look at the Texans, yes, they're division winners, but they cannot get over the hump. We pointed out that they've never been to the AFC title game, ever. If I'm thinking about what it's going to take to get them there, it's not so much the weapons or the defense, it's the offensive line. Adding Matt Khalil, like he was saying, using their first and second round picks, getting Deshaun Watson in a place where he's not getting hit as much as he is. That's pretty much all I can come up with.
Yeah, for me, I think it is a player. Of course, making sure that he stands upright is key for any quarterback. But if you have more guys available to get the ball out to, then you're less likely to take unnecessary sacks. And that X factor is Will Fuller. I just feel like with him on the field healthy, he is the ultimate complement to Deshaun Watson. What he brings to the table from an explosive standpoint, taking the top off the coverage, taking pressure off Deshaun Watson, and also DeAndre Hopkins. The way that he was able to play a couple seasons ago, he had 7 touchdowns in a 4-game stretch. And then he got hurt. And then last year, he played 7 games, and they were 5-2 in those 7 games. And then he gets banged up. So for me, it's him staying on the field. That way, when Deshaun Watson is dropping back and he's looking for DeAndre's double cover, which typically he is, he'll have more than just the complementary pieces. He'll have a true speed receiver, similar to what Pat Mahomes has with Tyreek Hill. If you have a guy like that on the field, it just changes the game, and it makes it so much easier for a quarterback who's used to hitting the ground because he's sacked so much.
You heard Tippy Hedren, James Palmer out there with the birds talking about the offensive line and the way that they're protecting. How about the running game? Because I look at their yards per attempt the last couple of years, 19th and 16th in the league, and that number was helped both times by Deshaun Watson and the average yards per game that he has. So if you get a consistent running game, that'll help your protection just as much as the personnel on the offensive line. And I believe that that's what they were trying to do, well, at least what former general manager Brian Gaine was trying to do by taking offensive linemen with 2 of his first 3 picks here. So we'll see if they can get some cohesiveness up front there.
I'm going to keep hitting this. They got to fix this T.Y. Hilton problem. They have a major problem with
What do you mean?
T.Y. Hilton, the Colts receiver, obviously plays the Texans twice. Every year, he averages 100 yards a game against the Texans. Guys, last year he did them for $1.99 in their house. Afterwards says, I like this. This place is my second home. Texans didn't like that. Jonathan Joseph, the DB, came out and said that's for clowns. He literally showed up to the playoff game in Houston wearing a clown mask, walked across the field wearing it, and then what happened? He did them again, and they won again. I can't take you seriously as a contender if one player in your own division dominates you and is referring to your stadium as his second home. You gotta stop this guy, or what are we talking about here? You're the almost team. Check out of the Hilton. And now they got a guy named Paris who's coming after you, too. Check out or you're done. You gotta stop it. I can't take you seriously.
That's sad. They won the division. They had a 9-game win streak at one point. I mean, I could see them, if they perfect or improve upon these little things that we're talking about, first-round bye could be in their future. Let's be honest.
Wow. We'll see.
It could be. They've got the talent to do that. We are headed out to the West Coast after this to get a live look at Raiders training camp. Derek Carr, what is he going to look like? He is just, since that 2016 season, not as good as he could be. But now he's got Antonio Brown flying in on a hot air balloon. So we'll talk to all of them and Mayock on ITC Live. And no show in Oxnard. When does he show up? Who gets more power? As long as he doesn't show up, we're breaking it down.
Money, power.